let's see some of the methods of mounting, unmounting, and updating state. Okay, and there are some most importantly used methods, and there are some very rarely used methods. So we'll see all of them. Okay, so first of all, here let me go ahead and write class component. So basically these methods are supported only in class component. So now what I will do is I will simply write console log render. So now which function will be executed first, whether the constructor or the render method, right? So I'm running the code, and let me go ahead and use lifecycle. You can see lifecycle got imported from that particular component folder. So now here, let's go ahead and check what are we getting. For the error, lifecycle is not defined. Okay. See, constructor got called. Okay, and also the render method got called, right? From the same line 5 and 14. So first constructor is getting called and then render method is getting called. So now we'll be looking at componentdidmount method. Okay, so this componentdidmount method will be executed once your component is fully initialized and rendered into the DOM. Okay, you can say that it is being inserted into the DOM, then only this componentdidmount will be executed. So componentdidmount is a good place where you can make a API call. Okay, so in componentdidmount method only you can make a API call. Okay, so what happens here is, so as soon as the render method gets executed, the componentdidmount method gets executed. Okay, why I'm telling that it is a good place for making an API call, because we are letting our render method to be executed first and then make a API call. Okay, so all our HTML will be rendered and then we are making an API call and binding the data. Okay, so if you make a API call, then this will get slow, right? If you make a API call here only in render, this will become slow. That is the reason componentdidmount is a good place to make a API call. Okay. So in componentdidmount only, if you want to initialize something, if you want to do some operations and then render, then you can do it in the componentdidmount. Okay. So here in componentdidmount, as I said, we can make any API calls or anything you want to call, after your HTML is fully rendered, right? So componentdidmount is a good place to do that. So now let us see when is this componentdidmount is getting called. Okay. So you can see constructor is getting called, then render method got called, then componentdidmount called. Okay, and now here after componentdidmount, let's say I have a counter over here. So in this counter, let's say I want to display that counter. Let me have one div, and we'll say counter value and state dot counter. Okay, and then what we will do is here we'll have a button which will increment and decrement the counter. Okay, so let's say on click equal to increment, okay, and decrement. So now what I will do is here, let me write increment function, and then I will write this dot set state counter. Let me have, okay, so what it takes the previous state and previous props, right? So it will be like this, state and props. So here you can write state dot counter plus 1. Okay, otherwise you can directly write this dot state dot counter. Okay, but that's not recommended, right? Instead of plus, I'll write minus. Now I'm using the normal function. So whenever you are using the normal function, the regular function, then you need to bind it with this keyword. increment equal to this dot increment dot. You can basically go with the arrow functions only. Okay, why? Because here again you need to write two more steps, right? That's the reason. Go with arrow functions, that's the recommended one. So now here we'll write this dot increment and this dot decrement. So now let's see how many times this render will get executed and how many times this component did mount and constructor will get called. So I'll clear this. I have refreshed the page. You can see constructor, render and component did mount got called. So now when I increment, see, render got called. Whenever there is a change to either the state or a props, the render will get called. So now what we will do is we'll see some of the other methods as well. So this component did mount will be executed once the component is fully initialized and inserted into the DOM. But let's say whenever there is a change, okay, change to the states or props, I want to make another API call, right? So on initialization, I have made an API call, but this component did mount will be called only once and on the initialization state. But render will be called every time, of course, because we are rendering we're changing the state and it has to render again and again. But based on some changes, I want to make another API call and I want to set the state based on that API call, right? So we do have one of the method called component did update. Okay, so totally how many methods we have seen till now? Constructor, render, component did mount got called. So next time when I increment, see, component did update got called. See, on every subsequent changes I am getting this component did update. Right? So let's say I got the then updated my data here. Okay. So there is one more life cycle that is called a we have initialization, updation, and later removal of the component. So what I will do is I'll simply go ahead and write and you can see we do have constructor render did mount. Okay, and when I change I'm getting update also along with the render. When we remove component will unmount will be executed, right? So for that I need to remove it somehow. So basically what happens when we navigate from one component to another component, then it will be removed from the DOM. Now conditionally I will try to remove it. Okay, so now this is a functional component. Okay, let me write a flag directly. Basically I can use a useState hook, write a toggler button flag. Now okay, I'm just making true and false, but I need to write it over here also, right? Tell me, should I go with ternary or I should go with logical AND? I'll go with ternary. If you have nothing to display, then you can go ahead with logical AND. But with ternary, you can show some fallback UI. Now I'll just keep it for null. Okay, done. So let's see it works or not. Toggler is there. Oh, did I make it false by default? Sorry. See, everything is there. We know how it works. I'll click on this toggler. Okay, let me write console log and check. Okay, my return is always taken from outside. Okay, let me write it. True for the very first time, so I think it has been taken from there. My agenda was to show you guys when it has been removed, when this particular component. So when this particular component is being removed from the DOM, then how can we call that component will unmount method? So here, as soon as I click on this toggler, you can see I do not have verbal unmount method. So as soon as I click on the toggler, see component will unmount got called. So okay, it has been removed. Then when I click on toggler, then the component will get recreated. Okay, so again constructor gain render and component did mount will get called. See, so in this way. So basically in routing, what will happen? Let's say if I'm going from this component to hello world component, then component will unmount will get called. So what all things can you do in component will unmount? So we know the reason to use component did mount. We know the reason to use component did update will unmount when it will be used, right? So it is same like the method of Angular where we call destroy method, where you destroy the component. So basically will unmount you can call when you want to clear something. So like clear timeout, clear interval, unsubscribe, whatever you want to clear, you can do it in the component will unmount method. Here you can do some clear functionalities. So these kind of things you can even do it in functional component also using this use effect. Okay, so let me show you here only. Let's say I'm going here, as I've used use state hook, I do have use effect hook. Okay, so what happens is here you will first do a initialization step. So everything it is like a combination of component did mount, component did update, and component will unmount. Okay, so here you will make a component did mount method. Okay, and component did update and component did mount will be executed here only. And then here you will do some cleanup function. As I said, this is my cleanup function, right? This you will be doing it here in cleanup. Okay, and here you are giving a condition. Based on this condition only it will be executed. Okay, so this kind of hooks we have it based on the condition. It's not like the condition you're giving, it is like on this input only, this is render is going to be called. Otherwise, if you don't give this on each change, okay, render method will be called. So we have to avoid that. So we have this kind of a callbacks. Okay.